Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hello. How are you doing?
Was you surprised, Bob?
No. I've seen it before. I was waiting for it. I'm starting to get used to your sort of little bit of hillbilly music there at the beginning.
A little bit of hillbilly music. Okay, fair enough. I'll go with that. It's good to have you back, buddy. It's good to have you back.
Hey, I tell you what, it's nice to be back. So I'm actually feeling well for a change for the last few weeks. I've been a bit rough, but today
Yeah,
I can honestly say it's the first day in ages that I felt perfectly fine.
And you worked out today. Well, and you've gotten physical. You lifted your weights that you been wanting to do. 2 weeks, man. It's been a minute. I'm glad you're feeling better, buddy. I really am.
It's been a long process. You normally get these sort of things and you expect them to clear off within a few days, don't you? But it's hung around a bit. But
we're getting older, Bob. It takes a little bit more time sometimes now for these common colds to go away.
Well, at least it cleared off in time to actually do a show, because the last couple of weeks I haven't been able to. So,
well, you made it today, and we're happy for it. Welcome back, Bob. Welcome back.
Hey, you keep freezing up a bit there. Did you notice that there?
I'm seeing you freeze up a bit.
I can hear the voice, no problems, but occasionally you just go like perfectly still, as though you're playing, I don't know, musical statues or something maybe tonight.
I think it might be your internet connection, buddy. Because
it's
clear on my end, but it's blocky on yours. I don't know. I'm sure it'll work itself through.
Maybe it could be. I'm sitting right beside the router and I'm actually plugged in with an Ethernet, but you never know. It could be. I've been watching Stranger Things. Maybe it's spreading.
They're coming for you, Bob. They're coming for you.
They're coming for me.
Let's say hello to everybody. Jace, how are you doing, buddy? Good evening to you. Ina, hello. Bob, of course, saying welcome, everybody. Welcome. We got Facebook user, hello. How are you doing? They're saying hello.
Yeah, hello. Bob. Yes, hello, Facebook user. I like it when we get a sort of like someone who doesn't tell us who they are. It's all a bit secretive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could be anybody.
It's kind of fun that way, isn't it?
Yeah, take a guess. Who could it be?
Oh, looks like Ina says Bob is freezing and Sid is fine. So I guess we figured that out. And it's Simon from Kinstrife. How you doing, buddy? Welcome, everybody, to the show.
There you go, Simon from Kinstrife.
Yeah.
I thought it was Donald Trump.
It's Donald Trump. Yeah. He's not orange enough.
Oh, well, there you go. Hi, Simon. Good to see you, buddy.
So we got a good show tonight. Looking forward to this one. So tonight, we'll show you, Bob, you want to introduce? Well, I don't know if you can introduce anybody, can you?
Well, I maybe I can tell you the band is, but the interesting thing is that I've purposely avoided listening to any music because I wanted to do more of a reaction. It's nice when you get these things. I may have heard some of the tracks on the radio when I've been listening, and I'm sure we've played the band many times.
Some good music.
Yeah, that's it. But sometimes I'm in the gym when I'm listening to the band, so I kind of zone out sometimes to the chatter.
So I don't blame you. I zone out too. Anyway, let's introduce our guest tonight, Bob, shall we?
We should. Tonight we have.
Bob.
Oh, you got in there. Hello, Luna.
Welcome, Kenzie.
Hello, how are you guys?
Hey.
I'm pretty great. Yeah. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good.
Pretty good.
I should have said we have 1/4 of Hello, Luna, shouldn't I?
There's always got to be a pun there because it's like hello Luna. It's like the hello thing. Yeah.
Well, we do actually have a Luna in our team as well, so we sometimes say that. And then we have Ina. Yeah. We have Ina, and I like to say hi, Ina. Because she just sounds like a bit of a beast. Ina, you're a beast.
Uh-oh. Now
that's got me in trouble. I'm in trouble now. Yeah.
He's picking fights. Well,
you can tell about the rest.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for hanging out with us tonight for this hour-long span. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Do us all a favor that's maybe not has never been introduced to you yet. Introduce yourself and what role is it in the band.
I am Kenzie Coyne. I am the front woman, so I sing and I play guitar for Hello Luna.
Hello,
Nice.
hello, Luna.
Hello. Yeah, everyone always thinks my name is Luna, and I'm like, no.
Well, at first, you do. To be fair, you I thought that at first too. I was like, maybe it's a solo-ish act, but you're a busy lady. You do multiple things, so that's Hello Luna is like a separate entity from everything else that you got going on in your life as well, though.
Right. Yeah, I do like my solo project, which is Kinney, and then there's Hello Luna, and then I also perform just like stripped down Hello Luna songs, and my solo stuff is just Kenzie Coyne. So I have like 3 different acts that I kind of juggle within everything. But Hello Luna is like that's my mainstay. That's what I put the most of my energy into.
So as it's not your name that's being used in there, how exactly did you come up with Hello Luna? Because I've got to say, as we mentioned, we already have a Luna in our group, but I think that's the first time I'd actually heard the name myself. I don't know if it's common in the States, but it's not one I've come across here in the UK.
Yeah, so the name came from when I was a kid trying to figure out, getting to that point in my life where I was like, am I going to go to college? What am I going to do? I used to go up, I lived by a dam, like a reservoir, and you can go up there and it's open all hours of the night, and it's kind of like up on a hill. And I used to like to go up there and listen to music and just look at the stars and look at the moon. And there's something like really grounding about like staring up at the stars and staring up at the sky and just kind of like wondering where you're at, what you're going to do. And the whole idea with Hello Luna was like, in those times when I would go up there and kind of like have these like intimate moments with myself, where I was like thinking about what I was going to do with my life, the moon really represented what I wanted to create, like what I ended up creating with this band, which is to be a light in the darkness. Because like even in those like really like dark times of night, like being surrounded by all those stars and the moon, like kept me inspired, kept me excited. And what I want to do
when
with
those
the
creative juices was flowing. It's probably when you sitting underneath that moon, just staring off the stars, and things were just kind of sparking in your mind, creative juices going.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's
really
where the whole name came from. It's just like Hello Luna is like our whole motto for the band is shining light in the darkness, just as
like
the moon
a big
does.
warm hug. Hello,
Luna.
Luna.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
the name
cool.
is very
That's
very
really nice.
But like our music is a little heavier than the name kind of gives off, which I think is ironic and funny.
Yeah, it's good to see that there's actually something, speaking of a backstory behind the name. So I remember being in bands when I was younger, and basically we just sat on the couch and spat out a load of rubbish until we found something that we thought sounded cool, which generally wasn't.
Yeah,
so
it's
nice
honestly,
to see something that has a bit of meaning.
There's nothing wrong with that either. We just got lucky. Figured out a name. It's so tough to think of band names too. They're all the good ones are taken.
Yeah, and you want to be original, and you want it to be something that represents what the band's going to be, right? So I agree with you. It's a hard thing to do, is come up with a really kick-ass band name, or at least a band name that suits your guys' persona and your personalities.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's tough because like even with my new project Kinney, like when I made that name, I like went on Spotify and just typed in like, hey, does anybody else have this name? And there's tons and tons of accounts that have that name, but they're not like really posting music or anything. So it's like you kind of just have to like bite the bullet and just be like, okay, I'm going to be pushing my music hard. Hopefully I can like progress beyond where these accounts are so mine actually shows up. But it's funny. I've had friends who have had band names and got like cease and desist because somebody else had the same name.
Just stop. None of this.
It's funny. It's so funny.
So what drives you, Kenzie? What what drives this big motor that you got going on here within this all your music and your artistic stuff?
Yeah, I've been pretty open about like my experience and like why I create, and I even put out like a little documentary about 2 years ago now, um, which basically goes over the fact that my dad, when I first started creating the band, my dad was facing life in prison. And at that time, I wasn't planning on doing the band full time. I am a hairdresser by trade, so I was working at a salon. And I just started writing music with these guys, and it was more of like a hobby kind of thing. I love music and I love creating songs, and I was writing music with what I believed were like some of the best musicians I had ever worked with. So I was obviously really excited, but wasn't ready to quit my day job, and we booked our first release show because we made an EP. So we made 5 songs. We're like, okay, let's do this. And during that time frame, my dad, his case became very public, and it was all over the news. And I was dealing with a lot of trauma from my childhood that I had to like reconcile, and I wasn't dealing with it very well. And I came out of that whole season with a lot of music, obviously, but like kind of a different lease on life. I was really lucky to be able to find a support system to get me through that really hard season. But we also sold out our release show during that whole craziness, which the trial lasted like 2 years. But once I sold out that first show, I kind of was in this mindset of like, I was dealing with like PTSD from my childhood, and I was dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety. But all of that mixed together, it kind of put me in a mindset of like, this is what matters to me, and this is what I care about, is reaching people and giving them something from my music, because that's what got me through really hard times in my life. And I think going through that really traumatic time at the start of the band really put this fire inside of me to kind of keep creating, keep going, and be that voice for people who maybe can't speak up. I was lucky enough that my dad was locked up, so I was able to share my story with people. There's a lot of people in abusive situations, and they don't get to talk about it. And that's what I'm here to do. That's why I write the music I do. That's why I go on things like this, so I can kind of like be a voice to that kind of void. And that's what's important to me.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And I think, as I mentioned at the start of the show, to my knowledge, I can't recall or don't think I've heard your music. So I'm kind of keen to get a taster and give me a bit of a feel as to where we're going with this one.
Absolutely.
So what do you reckon, Sid? Do you think we should have a video?
It sounds like somebody's antsy, that Kenzie. Should we punish him and make him wait just a little bit longer?
I don't know. That's your call. That's your call.
Let's. What shall we do? I think we'll play this. We'll play Mind Games. Excuse me, Mind Games.
This is the newest one. This is the newest music video we put out. So this is a good taste of it.
Anything you want to say about it before we play it?
Oh man, this is probably my favorite track off the album, and it's a really good example of the way, like, if you're a lyrical person, the way that I like to create and write. But let's just get into it, and we'll talk about it after.
All right, we'll get into it. You guys are watching Talking with Demons. We're hanging out with Kenzie from Hello Luna, and we're getting ready to play her song, Mind Games. We'll be right back, everybody.
What's up, everybody? This is Corey from the band Carbon Stone, and you are watching Inner Demon Media. Rock on.
I'm a stuck in the room and now I feel you alive. I can't help what I feel. I know I say it all the time. We're here and I feel that I am trapped inside a cage. My words, they can't hear me as I watch you drift away. The games that I play are all unlabeled, that's my fault. It's okay, we'll play 'em later. I'll wait the time I call. The things that I say are all encrypted in a way that even if you don't wanna play, well, I'll make you anyway. The love kept us here. Turns out was only fear. I hope you find a place to leave it all
Welcome back.
Hello, hello.
Wasn't that
Hello.
fun? Wasn't that a fun video?
It was. It was.
To have just even a little small portion of that energy you guys had in that video, I would be happy. That's a
Did
lot
you
of jumping
see-
around and hopping around.
Oh
And
my gosh. I was
guys,
so
you're
out of
insane.
breath. Yeah. I was so out of breath that whole day. It was
I could imagine. I mean, fuck, you couldn't get more of a workout with Richard Simmons.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And then the camera guy is always like, more energy, closer to the camera.
Are you
And I'm
fucking
just like,
serious? More energy.
oh my gosh.
I'm
It
like
was
Kobe
a lot.
Bryant over here. I got so much hops.
I know, jumping around. I do the same thing like last night. Like I got off stage and my quads locked up on me.
Are you this energetic at your shows as well?
So because I play guitar and I sing, I can't all the time. With music videos, like you're not actually singing or playing the instrument. So like I didn't even know how to play the whole song when we like recorded that. That's like a fun little tidbit about that. I didn't even know how to play the whole song at the time. So I was just jumping around, like playing, like pretending to play and like mouthing the words. So when I actually play live, I have to tone it down because I can't be, I have to hit the right notes on vocally and guitar. But when we do breakdowns and I'm like really know like my parts or I'm holding out a chord for a while, I'm jumping around, I'm swinging my guitar, I'm like doing acrobatic weird stuff.
I could see that. I could see that. I could see like doing backflips on the stage with a guitar in your hand.
Yep.
Cartwheels with one hand. She ain't playing around, folks.
I call it the rodeo clown. Me and my friend, he's in a metal band called Convictions, and he's always like, you got to put the rodeo clown outfit on. You got to get the crowd excited. And he's so right. He's like taught me a lot about like engaging the audience and making sure everyone has a good time at the show.
Now, is that something that you've always worked on? Who was already some of your inspirations when it comes to like female front ladies and music that come on stage and like bring that energy? Who inspires you?
I really like Karen O from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I think she's been a big inspiration of mine. She's just so wild and so crazy. Slater Kinney. They're not as like jump around, but I just love the energy that they bring to all of their shows. The guy from Cage the Elephant, he's a wild one on stage. If you've ever seen him perform, he's pretty crazy.
They got some great music too.
Yeah, they do. I love them. And yeah, I mean, I grew up going to shows. Growing up in Columbus, we have 2 major music venues that are like 20 minutes from my house. And I watched so many performers, and I used to work at a music store called Music Around, and like all the money that I would make there, I would put towards concert tickets because I just absolutely love going to shows. And seeing people perform like week in and week out, it's something that I didn't realize that I was studying when I was a kid. But now that I'm actually up on stage, it's something that like,
you've noticed all the things that you've picked up on throughout the years of when you're not realizing that you've been studying these artists.
Yeah, and I want to be authentic and real in myself on stage, but at the same time, it's like you kind of do like a larger than life kind of thing, where it's like I've seen artists who play and they're very subdued and they just play their instruments and they sing, and that's cool. And I've enjoyed those shows and I think that's great. But for me, it's like I want to kind of bring a bigger part of myself. Like I'm a pretty quiet person. I'm a pretty calm tempered person. But when I'm on stage, I want people to really try to like feel the energy that I'm putting out in these songs. And it's kind of like, it's really hard for me to like let loose and like be crazy like that. But I think music is the one thing that it drives me to kind of do that. Not necessarily for myself, but for other people to really like let go and just be in the moment.
The real test, Kinsey, the real test now for us is that Bob, as he said before the video aired, he's not heard none of these songs. He's not heard none of these videos. He's not seen none of them. The true test now, Bob, what did you think about the song?
Well, I don't recall having heard it before, so it was a first there for me, and I really enjoyed it. The thing that I found unusual was normally when I sit and listen to bands, because we hear a lot of bands for what we do, and I can't put my finger on any other band that you sound like, which is I found kind of good. It's fantastic. But maybe there's other people would be capable of. Maybe it's the music that I listen to, but I couldn't listen to your sound and think they remind me of so and so, which it normally happens. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed it. I like the sort of little rhythm bits that were put in there, the little hooks, and your voice is really interesting. I really enjoyed the sort of highs and the range that you had in that. So yeah, tasty. Looking forward to hearing the other tracks tonight, so it should be good.
Tasty.
I love that.
Tasty. Yeah.
Don't start using the words. Don't use the words tasty. Bob's not a trendsetter yet.
I've heard quite a few, especially when it comes to like guitar lines being like, that's a tasty little lick, like especially with like blues guys.
Oh yeah, it's a tasty little lick.
Yeah, it's like, oh, and like they'll say that. No, it's actually been a little tough for us because a big question that you get asked when you're like submitting for like playlisting and stuff is like, who do you sound like? And I always really like sit there and I'm like, because my inspiration, I grew up in like kind of like the iTunes generation where albums were less of a thing and singles were more of like the way that you consume music. Um, so I pull from like such an eclectic range of like musical inspirations. Um, so I think that's like a big part of the reason why we don't have like that specific sound, which we're still developing our sound. We're 6 years in, but that's in a band's lifetime. That's relatively new.
But to be fair, with a lot of bands, don't they always just still keep growing together? I mean, even the bands that's been around for 35, 40, 45 years still create music that they're like, okay, do we just come up with this?
Right.
This is something different, something new. I'm sure great bands like Metallica, who came from thrash roots, and when they went to go to make a more slower sounding album, they was probably going, I don't think we was capable of this. This is
Right.
something new.
I think there's a lot of pressure
Yeah.
in the industry too, because when people don't know where to place you, it's hard to get opportunities. I mean, even with this next music, like it's tough because what I truly love doing is like dark, heavy music. So like one of the songs we're gonna listen to later is Sympathize. And it's like much heavier, and it's not as lighthearted, and lyrically my stuff is always really intense, but I love like, the distorted guitars. I mean, I grew up in metal, so I love that. And it's tough because where we get the most opportunities is when I am more poppy and I am more happy. And I always struggle with that. And I understand why bands will probably like cling to something that's already successful, because doing what I do, it's like, it's hard, And there's always in the back of my mind when I'm writing a song, I'm like, should I make this poppier? Should I make this more polished?
Doesn't that just suck? I mean,
Yeah, it does.
I can tell by just looking at you when you were saying that how unhappy that makes you feel.
Yeah, I mean, the creative in any musician is stifled by the industry. But it's one of those things where it's like you have to find a happy medium. When I first started writing music, I was writing 6-minute songs. Now I write 3-minute songs. Now the average is like 2 minutes and 30 seconds a song, which I'm okay with that. I think the hardest part is just like being able to like stay true to the sound and not veer off to try to find success in something that's a little bit more, like pop, or something that's, not necessarily fully artistic, but more so derived because it's going to be successful. Because
I think what Sid hit it on the head when you mentioned Metallica. If you listen to their early albums and the late albums, they're not the same. They're not the same band. But it must be hard for a band to have a long career and have to play the same sound of music all the time, because different influences come at you and influence your music and take you in a different direction. And if you have to keep playing the same thing all the time, yeah, your fans might like some of it, but you want to develop and create something new. Otherwise, you get bored, and you need to evolve, don't you? So,
yeah, I mean that's like the big, like lasting question of like, okay, even if you've created a fan base, like you want to evolve and you want to be fresh and you want to continue to grow and expand your audience. And that's why a lot of times, our favorite bands will put out a dud of an album because it's safe, especially when you get further into the industry and now you're locked into, a label,
multi-year contracts and labels.
You got to
wanting
be
you to
able
do
to
a
sell.
certain thing a certain way. Yeah, it sucks. it's a damn you do and damn you don't industry, isn't it? I mean, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. It
I mean,
absolutely is.
it's so saturated as well because a lot of artists now are able to put their own music out,
Mm-hmm.
so the scene's saturated. So that's a kind of it's a blessing in a way because people are now able to put their music out and people can get heard more easily, but also it drowns out a lot of other talent out there as well. So it's a damned if you do and damn you don't, no matter what you do, whether it's a label, whether you do it yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've kind of, for me, I mean, obviously the industry is like so confusing and it always has been, but for me, the thing that I always try to do is to be as true to myself and as true to the song as I possibly can be, while sprinkling in like, okay, this is a better hook, this is a better line, being able to kind of mold the song to be able to fit whatever you're trying to do with it. And that's basically, I just try to balance it out. You got to find the balance, You can't be
I think we
fully
need
one
another
way or
track, don't
fully
we?
the other.
Look at Bob just getting all antsy and he's ready for the second track already.
I want to make sure that we don't get to the end of the show and we haven't played all four. I want to hear them.
We're only 35 minutes into it, Bob. Settle down. We'll get to your songs, buddy. We're going to torture him, Kenzie. He's just too antsy tonight, isn't he?
Oh, that's funny.
So let me ask you one more question. What was, before we get into this next video, Bob? Haha.
It's not aha, it's Hello Luna.
It's you bastard. No, it's you bastard. What was that defining moment in your life when you was like saying, "All right, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to pursue it until I achieve my dreams"?
It was more of a process. I wish I could say I had that light bulb go off in my head. But honestly, it was just the fact that I realized how consistent I was being with it and how much I cared about it and how much I've never put this much work into anything in my life. And when I figured out that I could actually have this lifestyle instead of having a full-time job, that's when I decided this is what I wanted to do. I mean, I realized pretty early on in my career that like, hey, we're 3 years in, and then you see all the bands that started with you and they kind of die off. And hey, we're 5 years in, you see all the bands you started with, they kind of die off, and you're like, oh, there's some longevity here. Maybe we could actually do this. And then, I created a Patreon and I started figuring out how to actually manage the band and manage the finances. And with all that together, along with like my history, like we kind of talked about at the beginning of the show, it was really this combination of like, I had been through so much in my life. I know what I care about and what I want. And the fact that I have a passion is such a blessing. And I want to do everything that I can to feed that and to see where it goes. Because at the end of the day, I think that I don't think I would have got this far and been able to do it for this long if you didn't
feel it right here.
If I didn't, right. If it didn't matter, And
Bob, are you ready, Bob?
I'm ready. I'm ready. It was a good question, Sid, because the answers led me to more questions, which is what we like, so let's have a video and let's have some more questions.
Well, everybody, we're hanging out with Kenzie. You're watching Talking with Demons. Kenzie from Hello Luna, and we're about to watch her video, Sound and Sorrow. We'll be right back, everybody.
Hey, we're Single by Sunday, and you're watching Inner Demon Media. Release your inner demons!
I keep my head underground. I keep my sorrows locked in sound. the time, but it's a blur, and I see things backwards. It's absurd. I know the face, but not the name, and I see the reaction, but not the blame. Yeah, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, 'cause I still got fight. Yeah, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, 'cause I still got time. Yeah, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, that I'm not alright. Yeah, I know how the story goes. Yeah, I know the look on below, the look on below. So I'm still low. I keep my head underground. I keep my sorrows locked in the sound. I know where I am supposed to go. I know the direction, but not the road. I see the time, but it's a blur, and I see things backwards. It's absurd. I know the face, but not the name, and I see the reaction, but not the blame. Yeah, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, 'cause I still got fight.
What can you say?
Nice. Yeah.
Those
Well,
bangs,
Jay
though.
said it all. Didn't he? Jay said it all.
Jay
Jay
did
spoke
say-
clearly. He said, tasty dogs conkers track. he just has a thing for dogs conkers, doesn't he?
He loves them apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, what a good song though, Luna. Luna.
You did it.
I
Yeah.
did it.
What an amateur.
What a good song. Really, what a good song.
Appreciate it. That was our first single that we ever put out. So that song is about 6 years old now.
Yeah, I would say you look fairly young there.
I know it was kind of funny like watching it because I don't watch my music videos that often. And it was just funny to like see how I was definitely like, that was the first music video I ever did. So I was like very uncomfortable on set. Everything
I was
was a
going to
first
ask
for
you that. I
me.
mean, that's got to be pretty challenging to sit there and stare at the camera and put that kind of emotion, facial emotion to what you're singing. I mean,
Yeah.
you sold it. Don't get me wrong, but I bet that was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, it was tough. I was like, I didn't realize that when you're on set, you're there all day. And that was like a marathon of a day because we had like a whole production team there for it. And I mean, I've come a long way as far as like performing. So it's like, it's kind of nice to see the progression because I was just far less comfortable on like in front of a camera, let alone on stage at that
It's
point.
definitely, I don't know if the video was designed that way, but it was definitely night and day compared to the first track video. I mean, this one you was more, you could tell that you was more in your place. You wasn't doing much moving around, but maybe that's how the video was designed because you wanted a more of an intimate feel to it. But definitely night and day compared to the first one because the first one you was all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, the company that I went with for them, they mainly do like they do like a lot of metal and a lot of pop. So they definitely were like way more like, hey, like we need the energy up, we need the energy up. Whereas the other one, those guys, they like make movies now. They don't even do music videos. So they were much more about like the vibe and like, what are we, how is this shot, as opposed to like me as the performer, like directing, like, hey, let's get more energy,
They did a good job directing it because it really felt like it was an intimate setting.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear that was your first one going back like sort of 6 years ago, because that kind of leads us into the question that came to mind when you were chatting before the video, that you were saying that you've sort of learned more, moved more into doing the management and the finances and stuff like that. So if you could go back to that time now, what advice would you give to yourself as the most important thing to get to grips with to engineer your success?
It's a tough question. I had a manager for a while, so I never had to really think for a large portion of my career on like how to navigate. But I think the biggest piece of advice would be that like no one's gonna care about the project as much as you do, and just be careful with who you work with. I think that's because there is no like quick guide to success. I think I was just doing my best back then, but I think I trusted people that I probably shouldn't have. And I think if I didn't do that, and if I just went with my gut and what I trusted myself to like learn the ropes on my own and find the right team and not just try to like push through and fast pass myself, then I think I would have been better off. But
hey,
yeah,
lesson learned, right?
I mean,
And
everyone's got that story.
If it wasn't for that lesson being learned, you wouldn't be in the shape that you're in today, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Pros and cons, I guess.
100%. I mean, we're all just out here trying to figure it out, and everyone's got that moment where they're like, "Oh shoot."
There isn't no Google navigation for none of this stuff, really. To be fair.
That's so true.
Trial by error, you live and learn, and then you just know next time not to make that mistake. Unless you're like me, who keeps repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Like, should I say Luna again and get myself in trouble?
Oh, that's funny.
So, what kind of stuff that you got going on here in the near future? Like, you got any major shows coming up or anything? Any new releases? Anything you like to like give us like a sneak peek about?
Definitely. Yeah. So we actually, the title track to our album Into Static, we did like a reimagined version of that. So we stripped it down and it's a lot more of an intimate song, a little bit more like a ballad almost. And so we're going to be releasing that in October, probably like mid-October. I'm just waiting for my drummer to finish mixing it so we can send it off to get mastered. But I'm really excited about that track to come out. And then in December, we're going to be playing House of Blues for the first time. So I'm very excited about that. And we're going to be doing that in Cleveland. Me and my friend created an all-female fronted fest. So it's just going to be showcasing awesome women of rock. And it's going to be a charity show that goes towards supporting women's health. So I'm really excited about that.
That might be something I might have to make a trip for.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. And then beyond that, we are planning our first longer tour in 2023.
Nice. Like longer tour, like getting out of this region tour.
We're trying to go out for about a month, which is a little ambitious, but I think that, being a band for 6 years, I think that we can do it. I think that what I plan on doing is picking up other bands regionally as we go from spot to spot and taking them to 2 or 3 shows where their markets can draw, and then going out for a month and just doing the thing.
Got lots of stuff going on there.
Good idea.
Yeah. I've kind of been avoiding touring for a really long time, and then COVID took it away from me. And I'm finally at the point now where I can actually do it. So I'd like to. That's what my heart's set on right now. And then, of course, writing new music.
What is the scene like for musicians like yourself right now? Booking shows, is it a lot easier now after COVID?
I would say it's a little tougher than it was. Every band that's ever toured is out touring right now, recouping lost funds. So, it's pretty tough to book, especially for me, because a lot of the venues that I had built relationships with over the years out of town, they are no longer in existence because COVID took away their business, and they couldn't stay afloat. First people to go were small venues, were DIY based kind of stuff. So that's been a bummer because it was I feel like I'm starting from square one as far as booking, out of town gigs goes. But I'm still hopeful. And I think that moving forward, the golden ticket would be able to support a bigger act. But I think that I have to get out there and show that we can be mobile and that we can be playing out of town shows before we get those offers. I did 2 shows with K-Flay, and after that I was just I got a taste of it, and I was just this is what I want to be doing. And I think she would have taken us out longer had she seen a track record of us actually having been on the road. And at this point, it's kind of like a resume builder. And even if we play some duds, I played a million of them, we just need to show, if you apply for South by Southwest or something, they're going to look and they're going to ask, okay, how many shows have you played out of town? The only reason that we're not verified on Instagram right now is because we can't show enough non-regional press. So it's just one of those things. It's you don't want to go out and play to no one, but at the same time, if you don't go out at all, no one's going to take you seriously. So that's kind of the crossroads I'm at, and it sucks. But it's I'm just going to go out and do it.
I hope that I get to catch you in one of your performances here, maybe in Indiana.
Totally.
Hopefully.
Absolutely.
I will definitely be there and help support what you guys are doing, because I think you guys are making some really good music. I think you're definitely entertaining to watch, especially these videos. First 2 videos were just great job on them. So it's just, I'm a fan now.
Appreciate that. Really appreciate that.
It's kind of interesting what you're saying about the tours, because obviously I'm over in the UK, and some of the companies who we've had connections with, we've seen a lot of sort of gigs and concerts and various things being cancelled because they're not managing to get the attendance to justify the costs of putting the shows on. Are you getting that over there as well? Or are you starting to find that people are actually coming out and getting back to the venues and supporting the bands?
Yeah, I think for us, we deal with less of that because of the level that we're at. So a lot of times you see that when you have large crews involved. So when you have people who are running like lights and sounds, usually you see that more at like 3,000 plus cap venues, because there's just more. I mean, the overhead costs are just so much higher.
Yeah.
Generally, when you're like the venue sizes I work with aren't larger than like 700 generally. And because of that, like last night, our show, for instance, like we had a door guy, a sound guy, and a bartender. There was no GM, there was nothing else. And these venues are trying to like save money and like do what they can to make these shows still happen. As far as attendance goes, we've seen like our release show. We brought around 300 people out, and they had to show Vax cards, and we would have sold it out had it not been for the hoops that they had to jump around and everything else. But I mean, we're living through a pandemic, and there's not a lot you can do. I mean, attendance is going to suffer. People are getting sick. Like, it's still a thing, and it sucks. But people are canceling shows left and right because if you can't make the money back, people can't afford any more losses right now. It's rough. It's rough for them.
Understandably, though, it's something the industry is going to have to make a change and come up with new ways and new ideas to get the music out there and get the music heard. A lot of these bands that can't get out to do these tours, people still want to see them live.
I know.
And personally, the industry has to get creative and come up with new ways of getting people to be able to see these bands live or at least get introduced to these bands. I think a change will have to come because this COVID, like you said, is not going to go away anytime soon. It's always going to be here. It's just not a matter of how we're going to navigate our lives through it and get to the other end, the other side.
I think live streaming has played like a large role in what that can look like. I mean, and when VR technology becomes more advanced, I mean, we're going to be able to watch crazy live shows from the comfort of our home.
Your seat, sitting on your computer.
I don't think live music is good. Like, some musicians get scared when you say that. I think that's ridiculous because I've been to both virtual and live shows. You're never going to replace the feeling of a live show. You're never going to replace the community there and everything that is live music. There's a reason that it's such a big industry. But at the same time, for like what you're saying, like having these bands be able to like play, I mean, there's no reason those bands can't mic up and put on a live stream and put a tip jar out and build up a Twitch following. I think for any bands that aren't able to go on the road, I think that's definitely priority number one, is being like having people see your live show.
Yeah, I mean, that it's one way or another, the industry is going to have to change or adapt to what's going on. Hopefully someday very soon that'll all change and new ways. And I always like when things kind of evolve and you'd be surprised what happens at the other end. Music has done that throughout the years. You thought, well, everything's slowing down now. Then all of a sudden something new comes up.
We were talking today about one of the guys, Jace, had been watching the new Top Gun movie, Maverick. And bearing in mind that I went to see this at the Pictures all of about a month or two ago, you know. When I was young, it used to take a year or a few years before Pictures were at the cinema and then managed to come out on your TV. Now you can rent it and watch it in the comfort of your own home within a few months. And I could, like what you're saying, I could imagine bands doing a similar thing. We're going to put a gig on, stream it, and just pay a small subscription fee to tune into that gig and give access not just to the people who are actually in the one place where it's taking place, because you could still have a crowd come and watch them live, but across the globe, which is a bit like what we've done. We introduced people from Greece, where Ina lives, in the UK, I mean, but anybody watching in the UK, like we know there's a few from the names I've seen shooting up there today. They probably haven't come across yourselves potentially before, but you're now introduced into the UK market as well. So
Exactly.
I think it's a tool that's worth using, and for a small subscription, I could see it being a revenue stream for bands, certainly.
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of ways to like monetize, and I think that if you're just relying on like streams and live shows at this point, it's just not going to work out. I mean, that's why we switched to Patreon. That's why we switched to doing. I mean, I focus a lot of my energy on TikTok and stuff like that. Because even going live on TikTok, like I'll make a little bit of money here and there. And then going on Twitch and moving forward with that, I mean, we have a whole plan set up to be able to start live streaming our band practices and our, because we have our own studio where we recording those sessions, and monetizing on Twitch is definitely the future. I mean, it's the real deal. I mean, there's gamers out there who make a living off of just streaming their games.
Let's not talk about people like Logan Paul. Jerk.
But I think musicians haven't tapped into that as much as they possibly can. I think we're going to see more of that in the next couple of years.
I think so too, Kenzie. I think it's going to be a new thing.
Is Logan Paul the one who did all that fighting boxing thing?
I think so, yeah.
You could fight him. You could have a fight with him, Sid.
I get my ass kicked. That dude's big, man. I'm old.
I'd pay for that.
Yeah, I'm sure you would.
I'd pay a subscription to watch him kick your ass.
Those pay-per-views are expensive. I don't know.
I watched him. I tell you, he decided to start diving into wrestling, and I watched him wrestle on WWE at a SummerSlam event, and I'm like, nah, I'll get my ass put by him. He's just way too athletic. Have you seen him?
I have, but I mean, I know it'd be painful for you, but it'd be so funny for us.
It'd be funny for nobody. Anyway, Kenzie, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I appreciate you sharing space with us.
Absolutely, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Kenzie.
Looking forward to what you got coming out in the near future. Everybody that here on Facebook, you can follow her. Do you have give everybody all your social media rundown real quick?
Absolutely. So if you want to follow the band, we are at Hello Luna on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I suggest you following us on TikTok because that is where I post the most content. Instagram is the place to be if you want to see like where we're playing and all that stuff. And then if you want to find our music, I would go to our website, helloluna.band. You're going to see our Spotify or Apple Music. We're on Deezer. We're wherever you consume music. We'll be right there. So yeah, appreciate you guys having me on the show. This has been fun.
Thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
We do. It was great to be introduced to the music.
And we still got one more song for you to enjoy too, Bob.
Excellent. That's what we want.
What a treat are you having tonight? Anyway,
yeah, I mean, we haven't managed to get through 4 though, have we? We've only managed to get 3. So what I want to know is, out of the 2 remaining, you mentioned that there was one that was really heavy. Which is the heavy one?
It's the one we're about to watch.
It's Sympathize.
Yep.
That's what we're
excellent.
Watch. You guys,
this is the heavy one.
This is the heavy one. Thank you again, Kenzie.
Absolutely.
And everybody have a great night. We'll catch you tomorrow for another Delinquents Ball and a brand new show on the radio, Hell's Cauldron, with Rex Dubois as the host. Looking forward to that as well. So you guys have a great night. We'll catch you tomorrow on the website. And until then, you guys be safe and be well. And this is Hello Luna, Sympathize.
Where Forever May Fall, and you're watching Inner Demon Media.
Sympathize, 'cause it made me strong. Rock and roll. Rock and roll.